Good morning and eventually afternoon and intermediate algebra people. So here is your bell ringer for the day. So please work through these two in your bell ringer sheet. And when you are done, we will play the video. So please pause the video for about 3 to 5 minutes. Have the students work through this and then resume the video. All right, so looking at these, remember there's 4 terms here on the left. So looking at A, 4 terms on the left. So we have 4 terms. You think of grouping. So we try to see what we can group. So let's split it in half. What can we take out of the front half? Between a 12 and a 9, you can take out a 3. Okay? And then we got an x squared and then an xy. So we can take out an x out of those. Okay, 12 divided by 3 is a 4. We got an x left there. 9 divided by 3 is a 3, and then we took the x out, so we got that. So 4x minus 3y. And then on the right-hand side, we got 4xy minus 3y squared. So what's the common thing we can take out? That would be that y. We're going to take out a positive y here. Okay, and then we're left with 4x minus 3y. Which that's good, because now we have the same thing in these parentheses. That was our goal, right? So when we factor by grouping, you want the same thing in those parentheses, because now those are the new greatest common factor. So we're going to have 4x minus 3y, and then we have the 3x plus y left in its own set of parentheses. Okay, and that is all. We can't go any further than that. So that's how we factor the first one. Second one over here for B. This is the stuff that I call smile method, right? Because we have a number in front and a number in back. So we have to try to see, first you want to see if you can take anything out. You got a 4 and then a 43 and a 30. So you can't really take anything out because you got odd numbers and even numbers, so it doesn't work. So then we're trying, kind of guessing and checking. So we can have a 1 and 4, or we can have a 2 and a 2 in front. And then in the back, we're going to have a 1 and 30. 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 4, nothing, 5 and 6, we got those. And then I think those are the only factors that we can try. Okay, and I've previously said you want to start with the middle-sized ones. Since this number is fairly large in the center there, I would probably try this one to see if we can get that number, or get the number close to that. Okay, so let's try the 1 and the 4. And I just like to write my number first again. So I'm going to have a 4x and a 1x. It doesn't matter how you write it, if the 4 is here or here. Okay, because you're going to check it, and wherever you put that second number, that's going to help you get our final answer. So let's just kind of try one to see what happens. We're looking for a bigger number, so let's try the 5 and the 6. If I put a 5 here, a 6 here, that could either give me 20 and 6. Okay, so 20 and 6. That can give you a 26 or a 14. Not even close to the 43. Okay, so let's try our next option in line. So that's the 3 and the 10. Let's try that. And that's actually the one that's going to work. Okay, if you saw it already. So this one's out. We tried that. The 5 and 6 is, there we go. And then the 3 and 10. So let's put a 3 there and a 10 there. So we got a 40x here, and then hopefully you're kind of seeing that. We got our 3x there. So 40x plus 3x will give us that 43 in the middle. And they are both positive because we're just adding the 3 and the 40. Okay? So that's what I call smile method, right? Because I drew my smile here, a big smile and a little smile. Maybe you're not happy while you're doing the problem, but you're happy when you get it done. Okay? So that's your bell ringer. For homework questions, you guys can email me, or you should have emailed me the previous day. If you don't got it done, I'll give you a little bit more time. Come in the morning or come after school the following day and we can kind of look through them. Shouldn't be a whole lot of questions. Okay? So if you got your homework done, you can take the time now to turn it in. So please pause the video while students turn their homework in, and then resume when everybody is back in their seats. Okay, so 5, 6, we're working through special factoring formulas. And I'll have a sheet way at the end of the video that I'm going to print that off when I come back, and I'll hand it out to you guys. Okay, but for today, for the time being, I want you guys to write down some of the formulas or the patterns. Okay, so we're going to have these two, difference of two squares and difference of two cubes. I guess sum and difference of two cubes. Okay, so with the cubes, that would be something to the third power. You can have sum or difference, so difference is subtraction. Okay, so our special product pattern, difference of two squares. I want you guys to write this down. I've shown this to you guys a couple times already. Okay, so now we're actually doing it for real. So you actually write it down. Okay, it's not too difficult. So if we have a squared minus b squared, that's just two factors that are both perfect squares, then that would turn into a plus b, a minus b. So it's pretty much you take the square root of those numbers and then you put them into parentheses. Once with a plus, once with a minus. Okay? And then we have these ones, sum of two cubes and difference of two cubes. So take some time to write these down, and then we'll explain them. Okay? So the sum of two cubes is a little bit more difficult because you can kind of see here the pattern is a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more complicated than the sum of squares, or difference of squares, excuse me. But I'm going to try to explain it in a way that it sticks in your brain, okay? So we're going to have to think of cube roots here, and this will make more sense once we actually do it, okay? So in order to find my a and my b for my pattern, you're going to have to take the cube root or find the cube root of whatever is your a and your b, okay? And remember, cube root is saying what times itself 3 times will get you that number. So some cube roots are, so a cube root of 8, that would be a 2. Cube root of 27, that's going to be a 3. Cube root of next one would be a 64. That's going to be a 4. So those are some numbers, the 8, 27, and the 64, some numbers that you're probably going to see. Okay? The next one in line would be the cube root of 125. Okay, that's a 5, and I would recommend writing these perfect cubes down just so you kind of see them. Okay, so cube root, the next one, 6 times 6 times 6, that would be 216. So cube root of 216 to the 6th. And I think the next one would be 2, or maybe 343, I think. You have to kind of double check me on that one. Cube root of 343, I think is a 7. And we can kind of keep going from there. But those are some numbers. Those are 6 perfect cubes that you could see. All right, so I would have those written down somewhere. They're going to be helpful. Okay, then down below here, we got one more pattern for you to write down. Okay, perfect trinomial squares, or perfect square trinomials. And these ones are probably a little bit easier to recognize. You can use the reverse FOIL or the SMILE method to get these ones as well. But these are patterns here that just kind of make it a little bit quicker to do. So write those down quick and then we'll jump to the next slide. All right, on to actually using these patterns, okay? Here are some things that you could use that are beneficial. We've talked about them quite a bit before, so I'll just go over them quick. If you want to get these and write them down, then you can find the notes in our Google Classroom. So we don't need to sit here and wait for 5 minutes to everybody write these down, okay? But here's some things to take into consideration. When we're working with just 2 terms, so that's just 2 things like 2x squared plus 4x or something like that. Always want to do this, factoring out greatest common factor if you can. And then these are the big ones, big patterns that we just wrote down, okay? So you don't need to write them down already because you did them. Okay, 2 terms, those are some options that you could have. Difference of squares, sum or difference of cubes. Next one to look at is if you have 3 terms. Okay, so that's a trinomial. That was trinomials. That was the lesson for 5. All right, I had a video for that as well. So factor out greatest common factor again if you can, and this is like your guess and check method. So that would be either reverse FOIL or the SMILE method stuff. So remember, in SMILE method, look kind of like this. Check the outside, check the inside. You got a baby smile and you got a big smile. Kind of looks goofy. And then 4 terms, again, factor out greatest common factor, but the number one thing you want to do is grouping. Okay, you group the first 2 terms and the second 2 terms, and then you keep going from there. Okay, so that 4 terms is grouping. So as I said previously, this stuff when we go through it one by one is not difficult, but when I throw it all at you at one time, that gets a little bit more difficult. So starting out, we're factoring a squared minus 169. Okay, so we have squares here. So this is subtraction, so this is difference of squares, because we have a squared, and you might not know that the square root of 169 is a 13, or 13 squared is 169, but it is. Okay, so we said we had our 2 parentheses like this. We got an a in the front of both of those, right, just like before, and then we take the square root of 169 to get the back number, which is 13. So we'll have 13 in both of those. And the only difference here is one of those has a plus, one has a minus. After you do that, you're done. That's it. The pattern is not too difficult, right? You take the square root of the number or numbers, put the same thing in both parentheses, then get a plus into one of them and a minus in the other. Okay? Next one here, a little bit more complicated because we have variables and it's 4th power. Okay, do we have a pattern? Did I show you a pattern for difference of 4th powers? No. But can you think of, can you use squares in order to get to the 4th power? Yes, we can. So what would I put in the front of my parentheses to get to that b to the 4th? Well, you should kind of be thinking, I need a b squared and a b squared, right? So then same kind of idea, what do I need to put in the back to get the y to the 4th? That would be a y squared and a y squared. So it's the same exact thing in both sets of parentheses, but one's going to have a plus and one's going to have a minus. Okay? But we're not done yet. Because do you see 2 squares being subtracted again? Yeah, right here. I see 2 squares being subtracted right there. So that means we're going to have difference of squares again. Okay? So we don't have anything for sum of squares, so those just stay the same. B squared plus y squared. Then this one breaks down again. So b minus y, b plus y. So now in the end here, we don't have any squares being subtracted, so now we are in fact done with that problem. Okay? Everything is broken down as much as it can be, and we've used all the patterns that we have. So when you get to the 4th powers, they could be a little bit more difficult. The cubes will also be a little bit more difficult. Okay? So I want you to try this one, see if you can figure it out, and then we'll come back to the video. So please pause it, see if students can get this one for about 60 seconds or 90 seconds, give them a try. Okay, so you're looking at this, and you got to say, do we have perfect squares? We do. 4 times 4 is 16, 10 times 10 is 100. So that means we're going to have 4a, and actually, before we even think about that, do we have any numbers that we can take out? Okay, save a little bit of effort here. Do you have numbers that you can take out of here? Well, 16 and 100 are both even, so that means we can take out a 2 for sure. Then we have 8 and 50 if we took out a 2. So that means we could probably take out a little bit more. Okay, so let's try to take out a 4. 4 comes out. So 16 divided by 4 is a 4. We're going to have a squared minus 100 divided by 4 is 25, right? 4 quarters gives us $1. Just to kind of put that into a little bit of real world stuff. So we got to keep going. Now we can use our squares pattern, all right? Because we took out that greatest common factor. So sometimes I might not recognize that right away, and you might not recognize that right away, but you want to double check that in the end, okay? So square root of 4 is a 2, and we're going to have an a. So we'll have a 2a in both of those. Square root of 25 is a 5, and we'll have a b there. 5 and a b there. So one set has a plus, one set has a minus, then you are done. Okay. Next one, number 4 here, example number 4. you don't have squares anymore. Now we're on to the cubes. Okay, so this one here, difference of cubes. So we have to kind of use that pattern. I'll write the pattern down here below, and I'll explain to you exactly how to use it. Okay, that's your pattern or quote-unquote formula. We got to figure out what's being cubed here, and I'm going to try to explain it in a way that should be fairly simple to remember. Okay, so I know I got a cube there, pretty obvious, x cubed, right? And then here, that was one of the numbers that I listed, 125, that's 5 cubed. Okay, so those are some numbers that you're going to have to stick in your brain, start to remember. So to use the pattern, first we're going to write out what exactly is being cubed. So cube root of x, or cube root of x cubed is just an x. Cube root of 125 is a 5. Those are representative of my a and my b in the formula below, down here. Okay, but I'm not going to try to use that formula. I'm going to try to show you a way just to kind of plug it in and use it. So we do have to kind of recognize that. So I want to do a minus b. So this would turn into x minus 5 after I figure out what's being cubed. Okay, so we have a small set of parentheses, and then we have a bigger one with a trinomial in it. So I always write out my little parentheses and then my big one. Okay, and then I need to use the little number or the little parentheses here to figure out what goes in the bigger one. So you have this front number here or variable. When I move it to the front side here, it becomes squared. So x squared there. Okay, then we do the same kind of idea with the back one. So that back number goes to the back of your big parentheses and it squares there. Okay? And then as you see in the pattern, we need something in the middle. That something in the middle is just a combo of the two. So I'm kind of saying, all right, well, this meets in the middle. So the combo of the two right there would give me, by multiplying, would just be a 5x. Okay? That stands for a minus b and then the a squared. We got all those numbers. Okay? Now there's a way to remember the signs. So you're going to think soap, right? Just soap, like hand soap. In order to remember the signs, you're going to think soap. I got to leave those there. That way we don't lose them. Okay? Soap. It's same, opposite, always positive. Soap, same, opposite, always positive. That's how I remember my signs. So my first one is going to be the same as what I started with. Okay, that's that minus. The second one is going to be opposite. So I go from a negative to a positive here, and then my last one is always positive. So that, after we use our pattern one time, you're done. So the stuff that I just put in a box there, that's your final answer. Okay? And we should have a couple more of those to try because the cubes patterns can be slightly confusing. Okay? And I will give you the patterns on the quizzes and tests, possibly on the test. You might be expected to memorize the pattern. Okay? So let's look at another one of those cubes. I'm going to write another one down below here or on the next slide. So let's try another cube. All right, so let's do this one. 8x cubed plus, we'll do 216. Actually, bad number because they'll both come out. Let's do 27. I could have left that 2 there. So 8x cubed plus 27. Okay, so those you should kind of recognize the 8 and the 27 as numbers that I wrote down on the first or second slide there. Okay, they're both cubes. So I'm going to try to show you this one just like I did on the last one where I'm going to apply the pattern. Okay, so I need to figure out what is being cubed here, which that's a 2x. Okay, and then what is being cubed here? That would be a 3. All right. And then I just kind of carry down my first sign. So I got 2x plus 3. If you're trying to use it like a formula, that's going to be my A, that's going to be my B. I think it's more difficult to think of it as a formula than it is to kind of remember the way that I teach it here. Okay? So this is the best way I think that I figured out how to teach it. So we got 2x plus 3 in the little parentheses, and then we need our larger parentheses where we have 3 things. Okay, so we have the first thing, the middle thing, and then the last thing. So we're kind of filling in the blank here. So 2x, when I drag it over here, it squares. All right, so squares, if you want to write that here. Squares, 2x squares to give me 4x squared. Take the back one, same thing. That one squares, so 3 squared is 9. Okay? And then the middle one is a combination where we multiply the a and the b, or the 2x plus 3, to give me a 6x. And then for the signs, we're going to think SOAP. Same, opposite, always positive. Once you use the squares or the cubes pattern here, then you're done. Okay? So that's it. I'll just rewrite it without all that stuff next to it. So we'd have 2x plus 3 in the little parentheses, 4x squared minus 6x plus 9 in the larger parentheses. Okay? So hopefully the second round of the cubes pattern made a little bit more sense, but that is the best way that I've found to memorize it without thinking of a formula. Okay? So take the front one here, square it and put it in the front on the other side. Take the back one here, square it and put it in the back. And then that one is a combo or multiplying. Okay? So those are the patterns that we're learning today. We learned difference of squares, and we learned sum of squares, or sum of cubes, excuse me, and difference of cubes. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do, I want you guys all to get yourself a whiteboard from underneath your desks and get yourself a marker and eraser from over by the homework turn-in area, the bins over there in the corner. All right, so get those, and then we're going to do a whiteboard problem. So please pause the video while everyone gets their markers and erasers, and when we are ready, please press play again. Okay, so starting out, we're going to factor, because that's what we've been doing the last couple days. Factor that one right there, x squared minus 25. It should be fairly quick. So for each problem, you can pause the video while students are working through it. Give them about 60 seconds-ish, and then press play again to go through the solution. So x squared minus 25, difference of squares. All right, I got a spell right here, difference of squares. So that means we're going to have 2 sets of parentheses with the same thing in both of them, except one's a plus, one's a minus. So we're going to have the x's in the front to get the x squared, 5 in the back to get the 25, one's a plus, one's a minus. And again, remember with factoring, it doesn't matter if you have the x minus 5 first. It could be x plus 5, x minus 5, or it could be x minus 5, x plus 5. Either way, it'll multiply out to get you the same thing. Okay, that's the first one. Should have been pretty quick. Next one. 8x cubed minus 64. So this is a cubes pattern problem, so I want you to really try it, see if you can figure it out. Okay, if you understand it at your table group, then you can show other people how to do it, or they can ask you. Okay, so pause the video here. So the way I recognize that it's cubes, all right, is cube root of 8 is a 2, and cube root of 64 is a 4. Those are both perfect cubes. And I could have, can I break these down? You want to think about that. Can I take out a greatest common factor? Yeah, 8 goes out of both of those. So we don't even need to think of it this way, right? It's easier than that. So I take out an 8, and then I'm going to have x cubed minus 8. And we've actually done something, I think maybe we did exactly this one already. So the 8 stays in front, and then we break down the cubes, okay? So that turns into an x. That turns into a 2. It'll be the same sign. So that's our little parentheses. And remember, we use that to figure out the big one. So x, drag it there, becomes x squared. 2, drag it there, becomes a 4. In the middle, you multiply those 2 together, so 2x. And then we think SOAP. So same, opposite, always positive. So this is our complete factorization. just to kind of write it a little bit nicer down here. There we go. Done. All right, on to the next one. C, 6x cubed plus 48. Think of it just like the last one. Try the pattern here. All right, so can we take out a greatest common factor? Yes, 6 goes into 48. So 6 comes out front. X cubed plus 8. So now we're on the sum of cubes pattern. Okay, because I think on the last one we just had difference of cubes, possibly. Yeah, so now we're on sum of cubes. So if you think SOAP in the N, same, opposite, always positive, that helps you remember your signs. Okay, so 6 stays in front. My little parentheses are there going to be x plus 2. And then my big ones, x squared minus 2, sorry, x squared minus 2x plus 4. So that is it. Hopefully the pattern is kind of starting to stick in our brains here a little bit. If not, then it's just like anything else, repetitive practice. Okay, keep trying it and you'll figure it out. Okay, so next one. Let's not forget about the stuff that we did from 5.5. So please pause the video and have students work through this one. Okay, so factoring trinomials. All right, that was kind of like the guess and check type stuff, but this one, we don't have a number in front, so you can just throw an x in there right away. And we are thinking of factors of 30, or things that multiply to 30, that will add to give us 13. Okay, so list factors of 13 would be 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10. Hey, that's probably the one right there. 3 and 10 are going to add to give us 30, so just throw them in there. 3 times 10 is 30, 3 plus 10 is 13. Everything's positive up above, so everything is positive in my parentheses. Done. All right, let's try another one of those, see if we remember it. X squared minus 3x minus 10. Give it a shot. Okay, so we listed our factors on the last one, so you probably had them listed already somewhere. Actually, we have 10 now, so that's different than the last number. So this would be 2 and 5, 1 and 10, and that's our only options. Those are our only options. So the x goes in front, and 2 and 5 would be the correct solution because 2 minus 5 or 5 minus 2 gives us a 3 there. So 5 there, 2 there. I want a negative 3, so that means the 5 is the one that's negative. And you're done. Okay, hopefully those are kind of fairly quick for you. Let's try this last one here. So, first of all, you got to say see how many terms you have. I got 4 things here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Since I have 4 of those, that should tell me that I need to group. Okay? Split it in half. So in the front, I'm taking out an x squared. I'm left with x plus 2. In the back, remember we have this negative in front, so we want to take it out. So take out the negative 1, and we're going to have x plus 2. So now we got the same thing here and here. So those are the new greatest common factors that are going to go way in front. So x plus 2, and then I have x squared minus 1 here. You might have thought that you're done here, but there's actually another pattern floating around. Right there is difference of squares, because x squared is a perfect square and 1 is a perfect square. So this will break down to x minus 1, x plus 1, and then we have that x plus 2 in front. Okay, so that is complete there. All right. Oops, I forgot my last parentheses there. Now it's done. So hopefully the little review here helped remember everything. We're kind of putting everything together in one. That's what we're going to have to do for our upcoming unit test, okay, which will be next week sometime, probably Thursday-ish. All right, so here is your assignment. We're going to have a quiz on Friday. Okay, so write this down, and then I will go to the next slide here with our patterns, so that way you can just leave it on the board while you're working through it. Okay, there's all your patterns. And again, I said I'll try to print this sheet off and give it to you guys, but this is all the different options that we have. So this is that chart that was on the second or third slide of the lesson. Okay, so there you go. Good luck on the homework. Let me know if you got questions. Adios.